The watch I'm going to be reviewing today is the Commodore by Tempest Watches. The Commodore is the second design from Tempest Watches, and it follows on the heels of the Viking watch, which they released last year and has been very highly regarded and well reviewed. Now let me say that I've been a huge fan of Tempest watches ever since purchasing their Viking, which has become one of my favorite watches in my collection. So when the company founder Ben contacted me and asked me if I wanted to review their upcoming design, I leapt at the chance. You'll see here that there are 7 different dial color and design combinations available. We'll start at the back left here. There's 2 different white dial versions, as well as 2 different blue dial versions, 2 different black dial versions, and then 1 in green. Now the main difference is, hold them up closer to the camera, is that he produces a stick dial version, or stick marker version, and an Arabic numeral version with the cutout Arabic numerals at the 12, 3, 6, and 9 position. All of these have sandwich style dials. So if there is anyone out there that's not familiar with a sandwich style dial, basically what it is 2 dials stacked on top of one another, with the upper dial featuring cutout areas through which you can see the dial underneath. So let me pull up a blue one here so you can see a little bit better. So anywhere like at the 12 here, and then at the hour markers, you can see is cut away, revealing the kind of white dial underneath. So the only color that doesn't come with the 2 different designs is the green. The green only comes in Arabic. So the first thing you'll notice when you pick up the Commodore is that it's extremely light for a mid-sized diver. This lightweight is because it's all titanium in construction. The case and the bracelet are all made out of solid titanium. The titanium that Tempest uses for this watch is grade 2 titanium, which is a unalloyed titanium. The reason they chose grade 2 versus other grades is because of its kind of dark gray coloration compared to stainless steel. Also, the fact that grade 2 titanium produces an oxidation layer on the surface. What this means is it does have some self-healing properties. In other words, minor scuffs and scrapes can kind of erase themselves over time as the oxidation layer rebuilds itself. In addition, this metal surface can be easily touched up using common hard rubber eraser, which you can purchase at most office supply stores. The case measures 44.5 millimeters in diameter, not including the crown. It's about 14.65 millimeters in overall thickness. All the surfaces are finished in a brush or matte pattern, and each case is individually tested and rated for 500 meters of water resistance. There's a screw-down crown, which features the Tempest cross logo and measures about 7 millimeters in width. I find that the crown is actually quite sturdy, doesn't really have any wobble, and it screws down very nicely into the case. Now, one thing that I do like about Tempest watches so far is that they really pay attention to detail. Ben really designs his watches so that there's enough visual interest around all sides of the case. As you know, the Viking had deeply etched, carved out case sides. In this case, Ben has gradually beveled or tapered the case down towards the case back, as you can see here. The crown guards, just like on the Viking, are separate from the case and appear to be inset into the side. And as you can see, the angles on the crown guard contrast with the angles on the case sides, which is a nice touch. Moving on to the bezel. The bezel is a 46mm wide, 120 click unidirectional diver's type bezel. You'll notice it has a kind of wide-spaced gear-shaped design. The bezel overall is about 4mm in thickness. You'll notice that the gearing pattern, the inner portions are done in a matte finish, and the outer protruding surfaces are done in a more brushed pattern. So that does add some visual contrast to the bezel sides. I find that the bezel rotation is very smooth. There's very little play once in position. One nice feature is that the bezel insert is done in a black polished ceramic, and the insert is then etched and then into which luminous paint is applied. So getting to the lume on these watches, as I said, there's 6 different dial combinations. We'll start with the white dial. The white dial versions have a completely luminous dial, so the white portion of the dial is what is luminous, including as well the etched markings on the bezel. The black portions, which is the dial underneath, the sandwich, is not luminous, however. For the other versions, the cutout areas, in other words the lighter colored portions or the sandwich dial underneath, is what is luminous, as well as the etched portions on the bezel, just like the white one. Alright, moving on to the bracelet. Again, all titanium construction. You'll notice it even has solid titanium end links. The end links are done very nicely, machined to be flush with the case. You'll notice that it's a 3-piece link construction, and the center portions of the links are raised up above the outer edges. The center portions measure about 4.5mm in thickness, according to my measurements. And the outer sides are about 3mm thick. Each link is nicely curved on the front and sits very nicely on the wrist. Perhaps the highlight, in my view, of this bracelet is the clasp. Let me get one that doesn't have wrapping on it. Okay. So the clasp that they use is very similar to the clasp that they used on their Viking watch. Mainly it's a very traditional push-button scissor style locking diver's clasp, but the feature that I like the most about it is it has a ratcheting micro adjustment system where you can make slight adjustments to it on the fly by pushing these 2 extra set of buttons backwards. So in addition to that, it has 3 micro adjustment positions here on the one end. So it's really possible with the flexibility and adjustability of this clasp system to tailor this watch to an absolute perfect fit. Also, you know, if you need to make any adjustments on the fly during the day or from day to day, It's easy to do it because of this ratcheting system, and not have to break out the tools every time. Other than that, there are multiple links on either side of the bracelet that can be removed. They use screw and tube system, so you'll need two standard screwdrivers, which again I believe Tempest will be providing inside the zippered case once that is available. Moving on to the case back of the watch, you'll see it's been done with a very nice winged anchor style design. And behind this case back is a Miyota 9015 24 jewel automatic movement. The Miyota 9015 has a beat frequency of 28,800 vibrations per hour with a 42-hour power reserve. I tested all of these watches that I received on my time grapher, and found on average they had about a 3-second daily rate variation with a beat error of only about 0.1 milliseconds, which is pretty good performance. So overall, I have to say I'm very impressed with the new Commodore from Tempest. Based on the success of their Viking, they could have just done an evolution on that same design, but instead they went with a completely different watch using all different materials, and came up with a very nice cohesive design. So the pros on this watch are the titanium case and bracelet, which make it a very lightweight mid-sized timepiece. The ceramic bezel is a nice touch. It's very scratch resistant. Also, I like the sandwich dial feature. Again, one of the highlights on this watch for me is the ratcheting micro-adjustable clasp on the bracelet. As far as cons are concerned, if I were to find any, it would be that the green dial version is only available with Arabic numerals and not in the stick marker version. Also, there is a slight rate variation from watch to watch, but on average they seem to all measure quite well on the time grapher.